In this video, I'm going to show you how to build this custom desk vanity combo that fits perfectly into the corner of any room. I'm building the drawers first, and they're going to be pretty lightweight because I'm only using 1/4-inch plywood. I'm making varying heights, so I'm cutting down all the needed pieces on my table saw. You could use a thicker material here if you want, but I'm pretty sure that these are only going to be holding skincare products and hair ties, so nothing too heavy duty. All right, I've got all of the pieces for these drawers cut, got them organized, and going to go ahead and glue and pin nail them all together, and then we'll put the bottom on. I'm just going to do one at a time here to make sure I'm keeping all of my pieces straight. These are assembled using glue and pin nails, and once the bottom and drawer fronts are on, I think they're going to be plenty strong. All right, there we go. We've got a perfect little box, start of a drawer. All right, we got all of these drawers done. So now the next step is to go ahead and cut a bottom for them. That's going to help square them up and also give them some strength. So that's what I'm going to do next. So this helps square up each drawer as well. You just find a corner and cut these bottoms just slightly oversized. I'm going to come back and route them flush. And so I know I cut these bottoms perfectly square. So if I line up this side and this side, that means these two sides will be square as well. And then I just cut off the excess all the way around, and then it'll look really sharp. And these pins really are just more to hold everything in place while the glue dries. The glue is going to be doing most of the work on keeping these drawers strong. All right, here we are. I've got all of these drawers built. I'll let those all set up and then route the bottoms so they're nice and flush and clean. Let the glue dry and fix any nails that popped out, no problem. Sand all these smooth, then get to building the cabinet boxes. Two of the drawers are a good bit wider, so I'm adding a second layer of plywood to the bottom for a little extra strength and rigidity, and again, for that I'm just using some glue and pin nails. All right, now that these drawers are all made, I've got them sanded nice and smooth. I'm going to use some full extension drawer slides, and the screws for those are going to screw into the side of these. And since I'm only using 1/4-inch plywood, there's not going to be enough meat for those screws to go into. So I'm just going to take this little shim here of 1/4-inch plywood to make that a 1/2 inch, and then the drawer slides will screw onto here, and there will be plenty of material for those screws to go into. I want to get a coat of paint on these drawers before I put the drawer slides on, and for that I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Turbo can. I've never used it before, but it's supposed to put a real quick, even coat on the side of these drawers. All right, I've got a piece of 3/4-inch plywood up here. I'm going to use my track saw to cut this down into pieces. Out of this piece, I'm going to get the top and sides of our cabinets and should have enough left over for face drawers. So let's get after it. After cutting down the cabinet box panels, I went ahead and painted the inside so I could attach the full extension drawer slides to each panel while they were still disassembled. My plan started to fall apart a little as I had to wrestle the pieces of the cabinet box into place, and it was a huge pain to make sure that everything was properly aligned. It got easier once the first couple of drawers were attached, but I probably should have secured the back of the cabinets first. Thankfully, it wasn't too long before I had a functional set of drawers. The drawer fronts are made of 3/4 inch plywood that will be wrapped in edge banding, and I used some shims to get the right spacing, and then I just marked out where each one needed to be cut. Doing it this way helps me ensure that I'll have a perfect 1/8 inch reveal all the way around each drawer.
All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put some edge banding on these drawer fronts. These are made of plywood and makes it look a lot nicer if you can use edge banding and cover up these plies. So this is just a pre-glued birch edge banding, and it's a little bit oversized. I like to line up one side of it and iron it on. It just takes a few seconds to heat up the glue. I've got my iron set to maximum heat here. And I'm going to come back and sand these all down, so it doesn't need to be totally perfect, but lining up just one side helps with the trimming step, which I'll show in just a second here. All right, heated up that side. Flip it again. I like to cut off these ends. I'm just using a nice new razor to do that. Couple passes, pops right off. Flip it around to the other side. And then this is a tool that trims one side here that's a little bit long. This side here is flush. This side is got a little bit of a lip, so this is going to trim that lip off. This tool takes a little bit of finesse. You got to kind of figure out how much pressure to put on. It usually takes a few passes. You can go both sides. Then, since this plywood did not cut very well, I got a bunch of tear out, and I'm going to be painting these. I'm just coming in with some plastic wood, filling in these little tear out marks so I can sand them all smooth, and you'll never know they were there.
With the cabinets and drawers about built, I moved my attention to the desktop, which is just going to be a simple butt joint connecting two pieces of 3/4 inch plywood to make a big L. They're held together by glue and pocket screws, and once that seam was dry, I went ahead and added a couple of coats of that same paint from the Rust-Oleum Turbo Can.
My next step is to cover up these plies with some thin strips of pine here, and also going to bump out this bottom part here with a piece of poplar. So this is the underside of the desk. I need some supports here and here in order to hold the drawer. It's going to pull out on both sides. I've got a smaller drawer where she's going to sit under. So in order for the slides to be able to attach to something, I've got some supports that are going here and here. And in order to do that, I'm just going to use some pocket screws. You want to be careful not to go too far through, poke them out the other side, which can happen sometimes, especially when using pocket screws and plywood like this.
With all the components basically built, I added a couple of coats of polyacrylic to give it a little extra protection against daily use and abuse from mechanical pencils and makeup brushes. This step was also easier for me to do before final assembly because I could make sure that every surface was fully covered.
All right, we're moving right along here. Now that I've got the finish on these two drawer sets as well as the top, I'm going to go ahead and apply the drawer fronts to the drawer boxes. And to do that, I'm just using a little bit of super glue here, trying to put it along the border and the bottom so it's not all pulling on this one piece, but actually pulling on the sides of the drawers as well. A little bit of activator spray, and this will dry in just a couple of seconds. Make sure I'm pretty well lined up. And then after this dries, I'll come back and put the handle on, and that'll go through both the face and the drawer itself and tie the whole piece together. All right, now by doing it that way, all of these drawer fronts are going to be perfectly lined up, and the reveal around the border and between each drawer is going to look great.
I asked my wife for an assist in bringing each piece up to my daughter's room and carefully moved them into place before securing the top to the cabinet drawers. It was challenging to get them perfectly aligned because the carpet held them in place and they were hard to slide around, but we got it figured out. I removed the top 2 drawers to access the L brackets, which I didn't really get on camera because it's such a tight spot, so you'll have to take my word for it. I then installed the 2 wide drawers using the same full extension drawer slides and attached the face in the same manner as the cabinets. My daughter opted for a brushed gold pole handle, which I must admit really makes this desk look great. With the desk complete, my daughter's all about decorating this space, and that brings me to the sponsor of this video. In the past 10 years, I've put so many holes in our walls, it's an absolute miracle I haven't punctured a water line or a vent pipe. This is the Wallabout DIY 2M, and not only is it a stud finder, but it also uses radio frequency to detect pipes and wires hidden in your walls up to 4 inches deep. All you do is download the app and then your phone becomes an x-ray machine for your walls. Since this wall is shared with her bathroom, I use tape to mark everything off so I know where I should and shouldn't place any screws. I also confirmed what I thought, and that's that the framers of this house made these interior non-load bearing walls 24 inches on center, which is a little flimsy for my liking. With her wall scanned, I wanted to test the Wallabout where I knew what was hidden beneath the surface, so I took it into my bathroom where I recently remodeled the shower. I also installed the wall attached magnet ring so I could attach it to my phone and use it all as one unit. After calibrating, the Wallabout immediately picked up a stud, 16 inches on center I might add, and then the electrical line running from the switch up to the vent fan. It also found the shower supply line without a problem. This has become my go-to device anytime I'm considering putting something through my drywall. Thanks Wallabout for sponsoring this video. I hope you found this build helpful and it inspired you if you have an empty corner and the need for a large desk or vanity with a ton of storage. Or maybe this is the perfect video to share with your spouse or partner who just needs a little motivation. Either way, let me know in the comments what you think. If you like videos like this, be sure to subscribe and follow along because I'm always posting new woodworking and DIY projects around the home and in my workshop.